Nope.
Let's go back to my questions. Okay. Let's talk about now Opie, who was Anthony's co-host. He was the Opie part of Opie and Anthony. Do we have a video of him? He must be absolutely stewing. Because I remember when he first heard, and I covered this on other shows, when he first heard that Anthony was given a radio show, he was like, well, I have a new car and it doesn't even have AM radio in it. He's like, nobody listens to AM radio.
All he does is talk about the O&A days. All he does is talk about a year and a half ago too. I think Carl from Who Are These Podcasts has the clip where Ope said he was never going to talk about O&A again. It was done.
That's all he had.
And then all his specialty clips were all just O&A stuff. And then he kept talking about it. And he goes for, a lot of people saying he keeps falling for the people that are trolling him. That could be a possibility. I'm going to think on the other side of it that I think he's smart enough to know that he's going to pretend to be offended by that because it means money. It means attention for what he's doing. And any attention's good attention, I think, at this point to him. So I think he's smart enough to know that if I just keep trying to play like I don't care, and then after he says he doesn't care, he's immediately offended by whatever somebody super chats him. I don't think he's that dumb. I'm not saying he's that smart, but I don't think he's that dumb.
Offended, he wouldn't even bring it up.
I think he's steering into this now because it means attention. It means whatever.
Lol. He's embracing lol cowhood.
Right. I do know for a fact, I know someone he's talked to, that he's not okay with the current situation for Anthony.
Shucks. No,
I used to think when he would talk about he had radio things that he was talking about, I didn't think they were all true. I thought maybe he had one because there was just some minute details he was giving, and I go, oh wait, I think I know the building he's talking about. I think because I know it's not a place he's been to. So a place that we worked at, so it's a place he had to have gone to, and I'm like, all right, he must have been there for something. A few of the others, I thought he's just making this up, and then after Anthony's deal, on Carl's show, I guess he had posted some screen caps or something of a conversation that he had. So I guess they did reach out to him. I don't know why he didn't take an opportunity that was given. He keeps saying it's about the money. I know Ant was pointing that out too, about the money. Yeah. But Ant was smart enough to see the forest through the trees on that and saying, well, Hope doesn't have to worry about the money. At least I don't think he does. Ant doesn't have to worry about the money.
They all made millions. And
so take the opportunity and make what you can out of it. And he won't do it because you keep saying, it's like, well, they're not paying me enough for... Do you need the money? Do you need to have that?
Someone on, I think Carl's
it's just
show
another cop-out.
Made it the point of like, oh, it's not enough money. It's like, you are currently doing a show for no money on YouTube. So why would you have a problem with that?
It's been... Like, I gave up trying to figure it out. But I just reside on the fact that's just how he's always going to be. He's afraid to try.
Yes.
He's afraid to compete. He's had plenty of opportunities since the Sirius thing fell apart. I was somewhat at Westwood One during his time at Westwood One. I was supposed to be working on another person's show. And Tim Sabian came to me and said, we're bringing Opie in. We'd like you to run all his stuff for him. You know him. He'll work with you. And I said, Tim, I haven't talked to him since the day he slammed the door. He yelled at me and slammed the door and he walked out.
He yelled at you?
Yeah, that was the last time I saw him. He came into our old studios. We had two studios. There was the main room and then there was my control room where I would run the secondary stuff, commercials, satellite stuff, all that shit. And the day he got outage, where Sherrod Small admitted that video existed and that everybody at the Comedy Cellar saw it and what have you, that was his last show.
It was Sherrod that outed him?
Yeah, because Sherrod's like, oh, I saw it. Everybody down at the Cellar saw it. And Oak kept telling the lawyer and stuff that video didn't exist.
Oh, shit.
And then he had to say it was G-rated at best, so he had already lied to them.
Oh,
and
no.
The staff... myself, I wasn't even involved in it. Like when that incident took place, I was still in the studio. They all left. The show was over. They left and that bathroom situation happened. But that last show, he walked around to my studio with Vic Henley in tow. Do you know who Vic Henley was?
Yeah.
Right. And I could see, because the back part of my studio was all a glass wall to the hallway. So I could see Vic over here, and Ope came into my door over here, and he opened the door, and it's one of those big, like, Navy airlock doors where it's pressurized to keep it closed and soundproof and whatever.
Right.
So he pushes the door open, and the last thing he said to me, he goes, thanks, it was like either thanks for having my back or thanks for defending me. I really fucking appreciate it. And then turn around to try to slam the door, but the door is an airlock thing, so it doesn't slam. And he just walked off, and I turned and looked, and Vic just kind of went like this to me, and they walked off. That was the last time I ever saw him.
Wow.
Right? Then I got the phone call around, I think it was 4th of July or something. He's done. And which was ironic because that's when I got the phone call that Anthony was fired on a 4th of July, same day. But when I was going over to Westwood, again, I was offered a job producing somebody else's show. Tim came to me and he said, hey, I really want you to produce Opie's thing. You know how this works. We can work together. And I know Tim, so it makes sense. I said, Tim, I haven't talked to him since that day. He won't talk to anybody. I said, I'm willing to discuss this, but you got to make some kind of meeting happen where we're all sitting together so we can talk this out. Tim goes, not a problem. We'll take care of it. Tim goes and does all this. And God bless Tim. Tim threw him that lifeline to get him on Westwood One because there was nobody that wanted him.
Wow.
Ope wouldn't have the meeting. Ope didn't care, didn't want to know that. In fact, he was offering other producers and stuff that we had way less money to have them come over to produce his thing, and they all told him no. So Ope went without a producer. Tim was trying to get me over there, and because they were moving things, I lost the other show gig because that show was about to launch and they had to put a different producer in that show.
Man.
So her show took off, and then I was sitting there without the other gig I was supposed to have because Tim asked me to wait, and I did, and it didn't happen. But the point of all of this was that he had so many opportunities and so many people around him that were trying to guide him. Tim's like, we're going to build you a studio here.
Wow.
Come do a studio, do a proper thing. He wouldn't do it. He wanted to walk around Manhattan.
Wow.
He wanted to sit on couches in
man.
in lobbies and do all this weird shit.
Wow.
He had so many people that were just like, oh, let me build this infrastructure for you. Let me show you how to do all this stuff. Nope. Didn't want to do it. I don't know if it was a bullshit pride thing. I think he's afraid.
Yeah.
But what do I know? He's never taken a chance since.
Wow.
And it's just easy to say, I do my own thing. I don't care. I'm happy. He's not happy.
How can you be
I know
happy?
people that know him and have told me, and it's not like I'm not going to reveal those conversations and stuff.
Oh, reveal them. No, I'm kidding.
But it's just like they tell me, and a lot of it's unsolicited. And it's like, hey, I talked to him. I'm like, oh, how's he doing? Oh, and then they would tell me whatever. And I go, well, that's his own doing. They all know. But he's had all these opportunities, and it got to the point where it was sad and depressing seeing this, to the point where now it's just numb, and it's like, well, what are you going to do? It's somebody who doesn't want to help themselves, that had all the opportunities in the world.
Right.
And this is somebody also, because a lot of people think that I'm shitting on Opie all the time. I'm never talking about it. Look at any of my stuff. I never mention him unless I'm asked.
Except for right now.
Well, that, or if when I was working with Anthony, if something like that came up.
Yeah.
It's sad, depressing. I'm numb to it now. I don't really care. He gave me an amazing opportunity. Both him and Anthony gave me an amazing opportunity 20 years ago with all of this stuff. And not being able to help those people. I mean, I help Anthony where I can, but not being able to help the other guy because of him being so fucking thick-headed, and just can't get out of his own way.
He's his own
and you go
enemy.
like, you could be so much more. Even Anthony has said he could do so much more if he just
let people help him. Not even like he has to try. Just let people
listen to people who are legitimately trying to help you. Learn from things. You still get asked. It's like, what do you think about Opie? I don't. I don't. We get tagged on things all the time, especially in the last several weeks. We get tagged on a ton of things.
Yeah.
Because Anthony will make a comment about Opie's thing, we're tagged in it. Opie makes a comment about Anthony's thing, we're tagged in it. So it's not like you can avoid seeing this stuff. It's whether you want to go or watch it or not. But what do you want us to do? None of us can help the guy. He doesn't want any help. So
he's too proud.
Everybody else talks to each other in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
He's just the odd man out, and that's by his own doing.
But he's made himself that way. I feel sort of bad for him now.
I don't.
Yeah.
I used to.
He wakes up every day and goes, I will continue to use the ring light and do this kind of a show. Low effort.
For a couple years after all that, I did feel bad for him. But then I'm like, why am I feeling bad for a millionaire who doesn't give a shit about anybody else that worked with him or had anything to do with that show, the success of that show, what have you. And he's just choosing to remain miserable.
True.
Because he can say, everybody knows his tells now. Like Carl and WATP have really done a good job of showing the psychosis of him, and here's where he's lying, here's where he's saying this because he's projecting. You know the roadmap.
They're like
for this
body
now.
language experts at this point.
He's not happy. He's miserable. He keeps torturing himself with this. He's not going to do anything, and it is what it is. Like, would you talk to him? Maybe. Yeah, I would talk to him, but there's a lot of shit that would have to be sorted out before anything could ever move forward. I love getting the messages of I think it's only one guy with like several Twitter accounts.
Really?
But yeah, because it's always sort of the same wording with the message, but it's like Opie says you stole all his stuff.
We all know that Opie's had a Reddit sock account that he denies.
Like what?
There was a clip a long time ago. Opie said, I stole the archive of O&A. Like all that stuff was for him, and I won't give it to him. It was something along those lines, right? My job was to archive everything. My job was to cut all that stuff up, best of, save every show, transcribe things, all of that stuff. That was my job. But my job was that for the show. I begged for years, and I've talked about it on Ant's show, and he can attest to this too. When our agent was still alive, Bob Eatman, there were times they were coming around. CBS was getting sold to this company, Entercom, at the time. The rights were up in the air for the O&A stuff. I'm like, I talked with Bob. They worked a deal to get it real cheap. Let's buy and own the material. So based on the entertainment laws and everything, it was who holds the masters, holds the ownership. Somewhere down the line, maybe I'd have to pay some kind of fee to Sirius for anything big, but they don't really have a leg to stand on with this either. So it became mine.
Wow.
And I asked Anthony, I go, do you want to own this? Do you want to do this stuff? And he's like, I'm good with you holding on to it. Same thing with Norton. He didn't want whatever. So I'm preserving it. I'm holding on to it. It's not like I wouldn't give it to them.
You're an archivist.
I begged them to take this, and they didn't want to. So I didn't want it all to be destroyed. It sits there preserved. Gets back to Opie. There was a clip where he's saying, it's like, oh, I stole all this stuff from him. It's like, I begged you for years to buy the thing, have the ownership, take the copies. Wouldn't do it. Now, 10 plus years later,
he wants the clips
he wants them for YouTube. He's expecting just to hand stuff over. I got a text from him at one point, and he's like, just send me what you think I deserve, what you think is mine, or something like that.
Wow.
I sent him a few things that were pre-NEW stuff, and that was all I gave him. It's like, well, fuck you, dude. You don't want to talk. You don't want to be a human being. Why am I going to help you? It's just ridiculous and such petty bullshit on his part, where it's just like, I'm willing to help you. I've always been willing to help you. You don't want to let anybody help you because for some reason that admits that you're incompetent or you're unable to do something, whatever. We all know you are, but let's be adult about this, and he won't. So, unfortunately, I've never had any real kind of dealing with him ever since the last day of Sirius. There's been very rare texts out of the blue from him for something, but like that last one, you could see at the end, that one, he's like, he's looking to make clips. He wants the archive and stuff. And I never respond. And that was like 2 years ago.
Wow. He needs it for his glory days.
He had all the opportunities in the world to do the things the right way. And a lot of people around him, nobody wants to help him. And it's just, like I said, it's not even sad anymore. It's
you're right. It's like he's a grown man. He makes these decisions every day. He wakes up and he chooses his life, and so
he still could change the whole path of this thing. He could do everyone's into redemption arcs and shit now.